In our short time here on this planet, there are certain moments that happen where you're just like, wow, I'm so thankful to have been able to live through that iconic part of history. I, RidersDX, was born in the year 1994. So what are some of the groundbreaking moments I lived through, you might ask? I guess maybe the turn of the millennia is one, the premiere of one of the most iconic animated cartoon series to ever come across our screens, Nintendo dominating the gaming industry twice, everything Taylor Swift ever did. But why do I bring up these moments now? Well, my friends, the reason is because I think we are living through one right now, and that is the release of the most important video game of this decade. That game is none other than Astro Bot, which, if I'm being frank, is a character/franchise I had no idea existed a mere 2 weeks ago. So I either look like a crazed, dramatic high school teacher trying to imprint the importance of my childhood heroes on you, or I'm cooking something and you all just need to listen. Hello, bot enthusiasts, I don't know. I'm RidersDX, and today I want to talk about Astro Bot, a game that quite literally took me by surprise in the past couple of weeks. From my journey in discovering the existence of this game at a video game convention all the way up to present day, I firmly believe that Astro Bot is the beginning of a huge and revolutionary change in the gaming industry. So how did I come to that conclusion without even owning a PS5? This really must be coming off as pure delusion, because how could I come to this idea without even fully playing the game? Well, because I am an observer. This game is doing something I have not seen in a long time as someone who's about to cross 3 decades of gaming on this planet. But to really implant the significance of what I'm about to say, we first need to go a little backwards. And I'm not talking about the origins of Astro Bot, because if I'm being honest, I still don't know anything about this character and where it came from. I heard that maybe there was some pre-game that came out during the PS5's launch. I don't have a PS5, so I've been quite out of the loop. But what I can tell you is about the state of 3D platformers. As a millennial, my childhood was absolutely filled to the brim with colorful and vibrant 3D platformers. Sonic Heroes served as the game that truly got me invested in the video gaming hobby, which has eventually led me to maintain this YouTube channel for at least 5 years, continuously discussing my thoughts on many video games, but primarily platformers, because I am eternally 13 years old and not about to turn 30. The 2000s were clearly not short of games when it comes to the genre, as not only did you have heavy hitters like Mario, Sonic, and Crash releasing games, but you also had numerous licensed games that seemed to think platformers were the only genre in the world. Yes, these are the types of games I grew up on, and while the quality certainly was up and down like the more uncomfortable roller coasters we've ridden, it's not a childhood I would trade for the world. I may have had fun speeding through heroes and adventure games, but I had just as much fun discovering some of the most inconsistent libraries of games in the world, consisting of titles like Cat in the Hat, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and Ratatouille. It's just a time you need to be there for. Platformers were everything to me. But unfortunately, this was not the case for everyone in my age group. While platformers were certainly, and if anything, saturated during this time, numerous other genres were beginning to rise to the mainstream here, namely my mortal enemy, first-person shooters. I hate first-person shooters. So much trauma associated with the shoving down of Halo Combat Evolved down my esophagus is a sensation that I will never forget. And other genres like RPGs, sports games, and such certainly were rising to the mainstream as well. As time went on and we entered the 2010s, we began to see less and less platformers really hit the way that they used to. Obviously, I don't have to go over how mainstays like Sonic and Crash had their ups and downs with games around this time, and people will also begin to pick up that, hey, maybe we shouldn't waste money on a licensed platformer as it's likely a very mediocre or terrible title. I mean, we definitely still had Mario, but Mario only puts out 3D platformers once or twice during a console generation, so it's not like he could literally carry platformers across years as the taste of the public changed. Personally, I actually grew tired of platformers, and the main reason for that was the onset of action-adventure games. Titles like Assassin's Creed and Batman Arkham personally took over my subconscious in high school, and the reason was because these games not only embodied the solo campaign with a few platforming elements here and there, but they just seemed so much more extravagant and adventurous in the ways I thought 3D platformers were when I was a kid. All this has led to an overall decline in the popularity of platformers, and we've certainly seen how that's impacted every franchise in different ways. Mario certainly is the one franchise I can say escaped unscathed, but we do have to acknowledge that Mario does not place all his eggs in the platformer basket. Mario also puts out party games, sports titles, RPGs, you name it. Nintendo didn't want their flagship franchise boxed into one corner, and they continue to utilize that strategy to this very day. Otherwise, just about every other platforming franchise saw declines in sales and extended hiatuses. Only franchises like Sonic and Ratchet & Clank were still seeing regular titles, albeit at a slower rate. Meanwhile, what the hell happened to Rayman? In recent years, we've seen a minor resurgence in platformers at least, partly due to the remakes of classic ones such as the Crash Insane Trilogy, Spyro Reignited, and my personal favorite, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. These remakes reintroduced classic platforming adventures to a modern audience, and not only did longtime fans get to relive their childhoods, but also new players that didn't grow up with these games got to know them as well. This did result in brand new titles for some of these franchises as well in the 3D platformer genre, such as Crash Bandicoot 4 and SpongeBob Cosmic Shake. I'd also want to point out that indie developers helped bring a resurgence to 3D platformers as well, and have carved out quite a niche for themselves that does see moderate success. But as we bring ourselves back to 2024, it is time to take a look at the main subject of today's autopsy. What is it about Astro Bot that makes it the most significant game to come out at least this decade? So as I said, I had no idea Astro Bot existed 2 weeks ago. I think I recall maybe seeing the mascot a handful of times around the launch of the PS5, but other than that, nada. I literally walked into PAX West this year, lined up for the expo hall because we arrived at like 8 a.m. in the morning to line up early for media hour so that we all could immediately get our hands on the Nintendo games, and in the distance, while I was in line, was the Astro Bot booth, fully equipped with television screens and a carnival game. I was pretty intrigued, especially since this major Sony game was for some reason placed outside the main expo hall. Just a very peculiar setup overall. To be honest, I don't actually try out a lot of games at game conventions. I'm usually more so there to see all the different booths, attend panels, and for the most part, connect with content creators all across the spectrum. But Astro Bot really captured my attention. I knew that if the line wasn't crazy, I had to go try it. So when we had time, Dimitri and I lined up to play Astro Bot. They did not allow us to record any footage, which I thought was odd, considering the game was literally coming out next week according to Dennis, one of the people I met at the con. And when we got to the booth, we were being timed 3 stupidly short minutes to play the game. Everything about this just was giving rushed, awkward, and weird to me. As for the demo though, I speculate that it wasn't a demo and that it was rather the full game because I was able to select from what felt like tons of levels to play in. It certainly gave you incentive to continuously come back and play more if anything. But upon trying out the game, the 3 minutes actually did make sense to me because this game felt fast and fluid. Astro Bot had amazing controls, especially since there was a 3-minute timer. I really had no opportunity to learn any sense of complex control to get into the game, but the game was insanely easy to get into, and Astro Bot is filled with tons of abilities that feel very momentum based and freeing. Thinking back on it, it's actually crazy how this game was able to leave such a great impression on me despite only playing it for 3 measly minutes. I really should have known at that point. I really should have known. I did go back to try it again afterwards, and it was even more fun the second time, but in the back of my head, I knew it would be a while before I'd ever get a chance to play it. And the reason being, it's a PS5 game, and I certainly have no interest in getting one anytime soon. This is jumping a little ahead, but I was hopeful that the PS5 Pro would entice me to finally pick up the console. And it's a coping mechanism. But the craziest thing about this whole journey for me when it comes to becoming absolutely obsessed with playing Astro Bot is, well, the reaction to the game upon release. First off, when reviews came out for Astro Bot, it literally looked like the scores of Super Mario Odyssey. 9s and 10s all across the board aggressively praising this game as if it was the second coming of Messiah. And as the positive reception for this game spread around, I noticed many friends and fellow content creators start paying attention to Astro Bot, with numerous people picking up the game at launch and streaming the game for my bare eyes to witness in the early days of the week. And let me tell you, I became envious. I was jealous. I wanted to reach into the monitor and steal the motherfucking PS5s, every single one of them. And every time I turned into a stream for one of my friends I made at PAX West, I found something new I enjoyed about the game. I saw D-Man Gaming stream the game first, I believe, and everything about the visuals and level design looked absolutely marvelous. The Collective Gaming also streamed Astro Bot quite a bit, and I started really noticing the cameos in this game in particular. Then I caught Toontrist playing the game on Twitch, and the music was just musicking. I mean, where did this game come from? It's literally the most perfect piece of art I've seen in a long time. It's crazy. Astro Bot literally has all the ingredients needed to become a modern classic. Fantastic and intuitive gaming mechanics, stellar out of this world visuals and sound, and a heavy dose of nostalgia from all the various franchises it references here, including Sony heavyweights like Crash, Spyro, Jak, and Ratchet. The game has captured my attention so much, I started harassing friends locally brutally and eventually pinned down a victim, I mean best friend for life, that actually had a PS5. I went to GameStop, tried to buy the game, found out it was sold out, and then had it shipped to me a few days later. Fun fact, I was definitely not the only one that entered the GameStop that day and looked for Astro Bot, as a little kid and his dad came in literally 5 minutes later and did the exact same thing I did. Went to the counter, asked for Astro Bot, found out it wasn't here and that they needed to order it. That to me started moving the gears in my head, dusting off the dust mites or whatever gets accrued in the brain, and I started thinking about what was actually happening here. I think Astro Bot is the most important game to come out not only this decade, but potentially beyond. We'll have to see with time, but I'm fairly confident it's got this decade down, and here's why. So we've had successful platformers in this day and age. Super Mario Odyssey comes to mind obviously as the big dog. Indie smashes like A Hat in Time also come to my head. And you know what? Because I'm a big Sonic fan, I'm gonna throw Sonic Frontiers a bone. Sure, it didn't get rave reviews, but it's a game that certainly helped shift the trajectory of Sonic back towards the mainstream. But you know something? And I gotta be honest here, there really isn't anything groundbreaking about a Mario game getting shout and praise. I hate to say it, but it's pretty much expected now. So while Mario can continuously come out with banger after banger, the cultural impact I'm talking about here is just not possible anymore with Mario because it is expected out of him. I'm talking about an impact that's shocking, that catches people by surprise, and a Mario game getting 10 out of 10s, that's not surprising. And as hard as other franchises have tried, not many other platformers were able to get even as close to a fraction of the praise that Odyssey got. Not until Astro Bot. As I mentioned before, I progressively saw more and more of the public take an interest in this game as time went on. With the amazing review scores pouring in, more and more people picked up the game and confirmed our suspicions that this was a banger of a game. Astro Bot has had such an organic rise in popularity that is so heartwarming to see. But if I'm seeing the future correctly, and I am a self-certified fortune teller, this is way more than an organic rise. This is the start of a movement in the industry that I am super excited about. And the main reason I see this as the start of a moment beyond the fact that this is a successful 3D platformer that isn't Mario or Sonic is the way that this game was built as a love letter to 3D platformers. Not only has this game's overall quality gone viral, but the way it pays tribute to numerous PlayStation platforming icons has also garnered attention. Seeing Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, all the mainstay PlayStation platformers showing up to celebrate another magnificent platformer. The presence of these characters is now helping the player to remember that platformers as a whole need to be celebrated. Not just the singular game which totally deserves it, but the world of platforming icons as a whole, especially Sony ones. And this festering of love of platformers is something I can see truly impacting the type of games we may see in the future. Could we finally be arriving at a time where people are fatigued of the 40-hour AAA campaign that takes itself way too seriously? I mean, we've certainly seen people burn out on franchises like Assassin's Creed due to that. What Astro Bot is doing by being the great experience it is and celebrating so many other fellow platformers is that it is showing that there is a huge audience for a 3D platformer. There always has been and there always will be. I'm not saying franchises like Elden Ring and Call of Duty have been a blight on the industry, or maybe Call of Duty, but I am saying that people may finally be ready to look for something else in a major way. Do people just want to have fun and play lighthearted games that they can engage in with a younger audience? Astro Bot certainly seems to be paving the way for that pathway, and I have a great feeling about what publishers are going to do after seeing the success of this game. Just a caveat, something that really fascinates me is that the music industry has almost seen a similar trajectory. Around the time that FPS shooters and gritty action-adventure campaigns were rising to the top of nearly every E3, music was also getting progressively more serious and diaristic rather than the bombastic bubblegum pop of the late 2000s. But now we are seeing games like Astro Bot take over the subconscious, and on the music side of things, we're seeing phenomena like Chapel Roan and Brat Summer take over music as well, giving the whole world a more lighthearted vibe compared to previous years of Adele and Taylor Swift's pandemic albums. The world as a whole seems to just want to have fun and not think too deeply, and I for one, as a chronic heavy thinker, am very welcome to that change of pace. I can't do it, but I certainly will try. Astro Bot is hitting the industry in a way that I've not seen for a while, and that really excites me. Could we see Mario and Sonic's next big platformer be one of the biggest titles in their franchises? Could Microsoft give us a great Crash or Spyro game, or even bring back Banjo-Kazooie? Probably not. Could Rayman finally return? What other new platforming giants could arise in the remainder of the decade? The possibilities feel endless, and Astro Bot is just a game I feel is going to go down in history as a markedly visible shift in the paradigm, and I, for one, cannot be more excited for what is to come. Alright y'all, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Have you gotten a chance to play Astro Bot? Hopefully I'll get the chance to play it in a little bit. I have a friend who has a PS5, so I'm hoping to come over to his place and try it out eventually. You know, just gotta make sure the schedules align and all that, but I'll literally drop everything. Like, I'll stop eating meals just to go to his place at a time that he's able to let me come in just to play this game. God, it's delusion, it's craziness, but it's craziness that I'm fully supportive of. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and be sure to subscribe to this channel if you want more thought-provoking videos like this. But alright y'all, thanks so much. This is Riders, riding out.